Abdul Onike, also known as Alpha 23. He
Good.
is he is he is my brother. I don't know exactly when we met. It seems like such a long time ago. It had to be like in the maybe the late '90s, early 2000s, somewhere in that area. But we have grown together as deep friends and have learned a lot. He has been super helpful in my career, and I hope at some point I had some influence on whatever he was doing. He is just an amazing brother. For wherever you are, all over the planet Earth, when you're listening to this episode of the Creativity Cocktail, you are going to walk away amazed and super excited about this conversation. So, Abdul, it is fantastic to have you here with us today.
That's a heck of a setup. Thank you.
it, Abdul has done so many things when it comes to not just the world of corporate. He's like one of the best salespeople I've ever encountered, but he also is a fantastic leader. And so, Abdul, tell the people that are hearing you for the first time, or maybe the second time, a little bit about yourself, what you've been up to, a little bit about your philosophy. So give us a couple of minutes on that.
Yeah, a little bit about myself. So Abdul, as Winston pointed out, I'm an artist. My stage name is Alpha 23, altogether, Alpha 23. And really just music has been a passion of mine pretty much my entire life. But as Winston pointed out, I had a healthy career in corporate America. And that was a big part of my plan, was to have a healthy career, be successful. In fact, I was in corporate America quite a bit longer than I intended to be, in order to use that to fuel other ventures and ideas and visions and plans that I had. And so here recently, that's what I've been focused on, is shifting my resources, both time and financially, into my own business and growing my own opportunities.
Wow. So, so for those of you who have, everyone should have YouTube, but Alpha 23 has many amazing videos on YouTube. I mean, of all kinds. And there's one that has like some anime in it. And I'm like, how did he do that? So tell us a little bit about like what's going on with the music career and how everything's progressing. How do you, how's YouTube going, all that stuff?
Yeah, no doubt. So, well, first of all, when you think about music today, it is really built more for the independent artist than it is for the label. And that's really an extension of everything that's changed the world today, which is technology. Where back, if you think about even the early 2000s, in order for an artist to be successful, you had to have a record label behind you. Today, there are companies that exist that essentially play the role of a record label without you having to be signed to the label. And quite frankly, where today we have so many social media tools that allow people of all stripes and sizes to gain a following. From there, once you have the ability to create and grow an audience, then you are able to then connect that with your other ventures, i.e. music or what have you, and then they cross-pollinate and start to fuel one another. And so that's kind of where I've been. In terms of creatively, artistically, I'm a big fan of anime, and so I always look for opportunities to include anime in my work as much as relevant. Some of that is born from, I guess what I would say is necessity right now. Some of it's budgetary. And so I use some stock videos. Sometimes we create from scratch. Sometimes we just kind of use what's out there, utilizing the amazing tool called YouTube. Yeah. And then I'm a big fan of syncing. So my editing is really where I spend a lot of time to make sure that what I'm saying lyrically matches what you're seeing on the screen. And though it may not be a one-for-one correlation, a lot of times you'll see that beat-wise and what's the good thing about anime is it's very demonstrative, like a lot of explosions, a lot of crazy facial expressions and really colorful characters. And so I write in a style that allows me to utilize some of that in there. So you think about a song like Legendary, which is certainly a song that essentially the videos that I pulled together to create Legendary is actually from about 4 or 5 different sources. And then what I did was a bunch of creative syncing and splicing and different other editing things to make it look like it was one seamless video, but indeed it was not.
Wow. So that, I tell you, I don't know if it was, I think one of them, I think it may be Legendary, had so many views. It was like, oh my God, I was like, my brother got so many views on this video. This video is incredible. That is awesome. So let me ask you, when you're about to create, whether it's doing lyrics, whether it's about to perform, whether it's editing, what are some of the, how do you get in that space? So do you have a philosophy that you got to have in your mindset in a certain way? You like, do you use certain kinds of tools to get yourself prepared to do that? How do you get prepared to be creative?
It's it's almost like I'm reminded of a quote. If I can pull this off, this would be pretty awesome. So I'm reminded of a quote from a Marvel movie, and it's the movie. It's one of the Avengers movies. In fact, it was the first Avengers movie. And at the end of the movie, they're talking to Steve Banner, Dr. Banner, and he's obviously the Incredible Hulk. His alter ego is the Incredible Hulk, and they're like, the whole movie, they were like, how have you been able to control yourself to be able to control when you turn into the Hulk? And at the end of the movie, he revealed his secret. He was like, well, it's because I stay angry. So I'm always angry. So essentially, mentally, I'm always a Hulk. And so now I'm just able to flip the switch on when I turn into the physical being, but I'm always angry. I'm always creative. That was a long ass way of saying I'm always creative. Like I stay in a creative mode. And I'm gonna give something back to the audience that's funny, which is that I've been to your house. And one of the things that I saw in your house that blew my mind, and I was like, yeah, I'm creative, but this guy's on another level, is you have a basement where each room was a different color and painted a different way, specifically to create the mood that you wanted to have in that room when you're in it. And I'm like, yo, that is a powerful level. But that's the type of thing that I do, is I like to create different things in my universe, in my reality. And one thing that I use a lot more, and quite frankly, this has been the best tool of all, is I use reality, which is to say that some of the best art that you listen to today comes from artists that tap into something inside of themselves that's coming from a real place.
That's right.
I have a lot of stuff that in the last 2 years, I can rap, write, and sing about.
That's right. So some of my friends make fun of my house because I got like the red room,
Right.
and the green room. It's just like, well, you just feel a certain way
Right.
that's
And
how.
colors are powerful in terms of being able to help create set your mood. Everyone knows red is an aggressive color, blue is a cool color, so it helps.
Yeah, it really is. So thank you for that, because I think that's right. All of us has such for me, every moment of the day, there's something that's creative that's happening.
Right.
And some moments, like, and I think I was sharing this on one of my talks with someone, is that I can be creative when I'm taking a walk. I can be creative when I'm taking a shower. I can
Yep.
be creative at all kinds of moments. And so for me, it's just like, I got to capture it, because at the same time, while I'm being creative, I got to be productive.
Exactly.
So here's the balance between the two
And
of them.
sometimes being creative and being productive is that you're not in a place to be necessarily productive, but you have to capture that creativity in whatever ways you can, whether it's using the camera on your phone, using the notepad on your phone. And that's something that I'm big on. And that's why I say you're always in a creative space. It's your ability to capture that and bottle that for later.
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why, of all of my budgetary weaknesses, technology is one of them, because I'm always trying to find a way to capture and make myself more productive so I can get back to
Right.
being creative.
Right. Right.
So
And what it is that you're trying to essentially do you're trying to play games with the one resource that moves in a very simple pattern, and that's time. You got 24 hours of every day. How you spend it is how you spend it. And if you're trying to figure out how to move those 8 hours of your day that you're dedicating 9 hours to corporate America and compress those and use tools to still be able to be creative, that's where you have that juxtaposition that many people cannot play that balance, and they literally end up just giving up on their dream, because it's so hard to get 40 hours to corporate America and 40 hours to your dream.
that's right. Or they will tell you that you have to supplant one or the other. And
Exactly.
sometimes that works. Sometimes people are just, they'll grind and they'll
Yeah.
get to a certain point and they'll get to achieve one or the other. But
Yeah.
for me, it's always been like, I like to be in these worlds.
Yeah.
I like to be able to provide for my family a
Yeah.
certain amount of stability, but at the
Yeah.
same time, pursue the creative goals that I have. That's always
Yeah.
okay.
And again, that's the power of technology, is that I know people who make beats on their cell phone, then essentially record those songs on that same phone, and then do videos using that same phone.
Yeah. Isn't that
There's
amazing?
videos out there that you watch on TV, like, oh, that's a great video. No parts of that was shot with an iPhone.
Isn't that so amazing? I was listening recently. My family's from Jamaica. And so, going through the pandemic, kids are all at home, including in Jamaica.
Yeah.
And I was saying, and I was curious about this video because I was like, how are they going to like get their schoolwork and all that? Every kid in that video had a phone, and they were
Yep.
doing their classwork on their phone. So
Seamless.
the teacher was sending. They didn't all have a computer, but they all had a phone.
Yep.
And so the teacher was sending them their classwork on it, and sometimes they'd have to write it and then respond all via their phone.
Yep.
Like, what a powerful creative thing that exists out there.
Speaking of Jamaica, I saw one of the funniest videos in the world. If you haven't seen this video, and this is to the whole world, y'all have to see. I don't know what her official title is, but she's like a government official in Jamaica. And she was talking, this was just 2 days ago, about eating. And she was saying that basically you have to hear it because she said it obviously with the accent, but she was so Jamaican. She was like, listen, you got to eat bread. If you got bread, I said you got to have 2 weeks of supplies because of hurricanes. You got to have 2 weeks. You already know this. You got to have bread and crackers. You eat the bread. And if you have, so I was like, this is how Jamaica delivers the news.
It's so awesome. It's so interesting how cultures are responding to
Man.
the pandemic.
Oh my
I was
God.
watching one video, and this was in India, where it was like these guys who were like policemen, I guess, or like officials. They were walking down the street with like what's equivalent to like switches or
Batons, beating people.
and they were just smacking people to get in the house.
Beating people for being in public, exactly.
I was like, what? And that's acceptable in their culture. Like if that happened in the United States, I'm telling you that it would happen for 5 minutes. It would not.
India actually had a very bad incident. They were stoning doctors. They were stoning doctors to death because for some reason they felt like it was fake and that the doctors weren't getting sick and that they were using witchcraft or something crazy. But yeah, India's been a little bit. I've always said that the coronavirus is not the concern; it's the reaction.
That's right. The fear is probably
Right.
as powerful, if not more powerful, than the virus itself.
Absolutely.
One last video in India. About 6 months ago, I was watching a video about the pollution in India, and they probably want to have one of the more biggest pollution problems in the world.
Yeah, them in China.
Like in New Delhi, there was all these people that were dying from respiratory ailments because of the smoke and the pollution that existed. And it was like 8 months out of the year, you can't see the sun, like you can, for whatever reason, for all the controlled fires and the pollution that they were doing.
Oh, wow.
And then there was a most recent video that everyone in that same city was able to look outside and they were able to see
outside and see clear
sky
skies.
as blue as possible.
Yes, LA is the same way. In fact, they said that the animal population, the bird population is up in the country as a result of the reduction in smog and bad air in California alone.
I was just saying to myself, wow, it's so interesting how the earth reacts to things. And it's bad for us as humans because people we know and family members are dying and those kind of things. At the same time, the earth reacts to stuff way before we ever got here.
I'm a true believer that the viruses that we contract as humans come from the earth. The earth has its own defense mechanisms. And anyone who thinks otherwise is silly. The earth is a living, functionally breathing entity. I mean, it has a core like a human body that fuels it warmth. If trees and life are growing from the earth itself is alive and it will defend itself. And we have pushed the earth close to a brink. And I am absolutely in no way, shape, form, or fashion surprised that we see this. And of course, man-made disasters of the type that you see fracking causing earthquakes. And then you have hurricanes, and then you start to see global warming or climate change because of what we do to the ozone. These things are very much man-made. It does not take much to hurt an ecosystem. So the planet being one combined system, what happens in this part of the world will have a detrimental effect on this part of the world, that butterfly effect.
You're exactly right. I'm reading this book right now called Rare Earth, and it's about how complex life like ours may be more uncommon than we think it is.
Absolutely.
And when you think about the Earth is so, even though technically it's small compared to other planets in the universe, it is pretty powerful. It's got like a powerful magnetic shield that prevents all this crap from getting to the Earth. You know, the way we balance and rotate around the sun is just an amazing thing. We've got a planet like Jupiter that's sucking up all of the mess around us so we can survive. I mean, it's an amazing.
That's pretty amazing. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. That's deep.
Jupiter, like how we go around and we spend 24 hours. Jupiter is going like 162 times faster and it's bigger. So it's like a massive vacuum cleaner in space that's preventing all of this stuff from getting to the Earth.
So any of those comets and things that could come into our solar system and potentially they just get caught up in Jupiter's atmosphere.
That's right. I think I read somewhere that Jupiter has dozens of moons because it has all of
Oh yeah,
those
yeah.
little bodies that float around it.
I think, in fact, some of Jupiter's moons, if we were to inhabit other planets, I think it's Neptune. If you watched Watchmen, which I'm sure you did,
I did.
you saw that. What was that moon that he?
Europa, I think it was.
Europa.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so Europa is one of those planets, bodies that we look at as potentially being able to sustain human life.
Yeah, because they say Europa may have liquid
An
water.
atmosphere, a very basic atmosphere.
Like I believe that there's life in the universe, but life like ours may be more uncommon than we think it is.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that there is other life, I believe that's inevitable just because infinity means there's an infinite number of possibilities. But yes, rare, very rare.
Yeah.
Because the amount of things that had to come together to form this is nearly impossible. That's why you almost have to believe in a higher body. If you don't,
That's right. There's millions of things that come together in order
millions. It's more. It's infinite. You really can't count the number of things that you have to come together to make you.
Yeah, people think, oh yeah, that's because if you're a certain distance from the sun or from a sun, then that means that life is going to exist. No,
no. One comet can end that in a heartbeat. Like,
that's right. And the comet
other
has
factors that play into this.
Comet has hit the Earth several times. And
Yeah.
before we were here, there was all these millions of little things that had to happen in order for us to evolve to where we are today. So you're right. A higher being
organism, right?
of some kind had to put their finger on it and say, well, these people are here. So I know this is off the beaten path, but I knew it was going to be like this.
Well, I knew that too. Like that's why I just strapped in my seatbelt and said, "Wherever this takes us, let's go."
Like when you and I get together, it's going to be a conversation. It's going to be something. So creativity. So and this kind of links back to what we're saying. So all of these things have happened, right?
Yeah.
For us to be here, and so we owe it to ourselves as a being or beings in order to find ways to create more abundance in the world.
Yeah.
In some way or the other. So whether that's making music or writing or being an artist or being someone that's helping through a pandemic, there's a certain level of creativity that exists with every single one of us.
Yeah, yeah. The people who are the most successful in their roles are the ones who are creative in a way, right? They're the ones who think outside the box.
They are. And in my corporate life, to me, one of the things that's made me successful in my corporate life, in the corporate worlds that I've been in, is finding creative ways to solve stuff.
Exactly. Right.
Is not, I used to, sometimes I got in trouble because I would say, I don't know what the manual says, but, there's ways to solve things. They ain't got nothing to do with the manual.
Right, right. The best leaders are going to be the ones who challenge you. And I can say, as one of my leaders, and you raised that earlier, your impact on me was certainly to approach situations from a creative space and not be afraid to apply the very skills that got me in an opportunity to have the right to have a choice, right? The last thing you want to do is use all this creative skill to get in the position you want to be in and suddenly become an empty suit.
That's right. And then at some point, ultimately, the creative engine, at some point you're not in it anymore. You and I, at some point, we're not in it because our creativity helps us get to a certain point, but sometimes that, changes for whatever reason.
Right.
So we talked before the show about the legacy that, that we all, whether you're one of us or you're just listening to this conversation, we all owe it to ourselves to create a legacy. I tell my son all the time, my parents didn't come from Jamaica for me necessarily. They came, they thought it was just me, but somewhere in the back of their minds, they were like, what's going to happen to the next generation?
Yeah.
Beyond him or her.
Yeah.
And so they came for him. They came for my son. So he owes it to them to really define a legacy.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts about legacy? Because I think what you're doing here is really creating that movement or creating that for yourself and for others.
Yeah, I think legacy is critical. And I think that, good, bad, or indifferent, it's very unlikely that a person's headstone will read X, blah, 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 fantastic manager, X, blah, blah, blah,
right.
Scored 90 points plus on every corporate quarterly review, X, blah, 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 dropped the best QBRs we've ever seen yet. Like, that's not going to be anyone's eulogy. Like, hey, Jeff, man, I'd never seen a meeting run by like Jeff. Like that's never been the case. And so for me, at the point at which I started to stop and look at what was important, I realized that there were three things I love. Corporate America sales, investing in the stock market, and then music and artistry. And the interesting thing is I love them in reverse order from how I just named them. So they actually go music, artistry, number one, investing, stock market, number two, and then corporate American sales, number three. But the thing that was getting most of my time, and you touched on it when we were speaking, I think prior to the podcast, which is that you love being able to create wealth. And, you know, part of a legacy is being able to pass something on. And so what corporate America does allow people to do is, although it may not be on your eulogy, you're a great manager, your family will appreciate the fact that you were a great family man, that he was a good father, that he was a good teacher, that he was a good steward, that he held the house down. And all of that does come from being able to be a good financial leader and come home and be what every man should be as a breadwinner. So there is that rub, and every man, I think, faces that rub. And you get to a point in your life where you have a cutoff, where you're like, well, too far gone now. I can't go back to being a guitar player for Aerosmith now because I'm 44 years old, right? Or 45 or 38 or whatever year you define. And so then you look at your legacy as being, well, now let me just make the most out of this corporate shit. Well, for me, I said, on the list of things that I love to do, corporate shit is not number one. And the reality is that you can have a dream and you may have wanted to be a guitar player for some band, but do you love music? Is that a passion of yours? Can you help somebody else be successful as a guitar player? Could you be a good guitar coach? Does your dream have to be deferred because you can't live the dream that you define as being the perfect dream? Because there's no telling that you would have achieved that dream even if you had thrown it all to the wind and said, F corporate America, I'm going to go out here and go on the road and be a roadie. So in my mind, actually, one for wise people fuels the other. Now, of course, to your point, there are people who get lucky early. And they may say, okay, I'm going to start this social media platform. And they become Mark Zuckerberg. Make no mistake about it. Millions of other people have created social media platforms, and they're Joe Blow, Jeff Johnson back in their basement trying something else. Like Mark Zuckerberg was the only one who tried social media. And many people failed, right? And what did those people go on and do? And what legacy did they create after failure? And for me, it's not even about the failure, because failure only exists when you quit. And so for me, the thing that really put me in this space now where I'm really going for my dream and my vision and adjusting the vision to fit today's reality is that more people were supportive of my vision than I was when I had it. When I first said, hey, I'm gonna start doing this music thing. And I said it and I started doing it. And then I started presenting it to people, but I did it as like a, hey, ha, 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 this is me doing music as a joke. They're like, nah, you should roll like this. You got something here.
That's right.
And that was,
it opens you up to so many.
And that really opened me up. And so getting back to the question of legacy, music is something that once you put it on Spotify, Apple, you name it, it should literally be there forever as long as you paid the right package with your distribution company. Mm-hmm. And so with that said, creating that legacy through the music and being able to put something, plant a stake in the ground and leave a message for generations to come is important to me. And what's equally important is now that I recognize that power and what that's looking like is tailoring that message so that it really does have impact and value for later on.
Yeah, some of the things that you shared that I kind of picked up was around how important our relationships are throughout this time. You had to talk, you shared about the headstone and what the headstone would read. And I've always shared with people that when your days are done, or you're getting to the point where you're not going to be on this plane anymore, you don't think about that stuff. You don't think about like how much money you made. You don't think about whether you had the nicest phone or car or all that. All you think about is who you loved.
Yep.
And who was down for you, and who were you down for, and who did you help? That's all that's going on. Your mind is not going to reminisce on anything else. It's not. And you know, when you talked about those people who got down with you when you said, you know, music is my path or the path I'm going to take, that's so cool. You know, I started writing a long time ago when I was younger, and then probably when I was in my latter 30s and my 40s or so, I started to really invest and go to classes and learn how to do that. You were like, when I had one of my very first readings, and I said, I want some friends to come to one of my very, very first readings at the Alliance Theater. It's got to be way over 10 years ago. I said, dude, can you come through? And you came through. You were in my reading, dude. I was like,
It was an awesome day for me, and that predated my own journey into embracing my creative side fully by what 5, 6, 7 years. So
yeah.
that just goes to show that, you know, what we're talking about today for me is a new journey. This is one that you really started forging that path a long time ago.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And one of the reasons why we call our organization the Rising Tides Charity is that we believe that when we're doing something that's
You
powerful,
lift all boats.
that's right. We're doing it all at the same time.
Yep.
It's better to sail to a destination when we can all lift each other up at the same time to get to that
Yeah.
destination.
Yep. I've always had that philosophy too. You never want to be in a situation where one person is winning and other people are potentially could win, but they're losing. Or, you know, I think that everyone has to pitch in, and that's been for me one of the most focal areas is finding people to be willing to support the vision. And I tell you, it's probably one of the hardest parts,
Yeah.
even from a not just from a emotional support, but actual functional business perspective. There are so many roadblocks, pitfalls, potholes, you know, speed bumps and barriers on the journey to success. And, you know, you find that 8 out of 10 of those are people.
That's right. And you know, one of the things you really learn is your own personal capacity.
Yeah.
Stuff. You know, and whereas in the past you might say, well, you know, this is the path, the predestined path for something, or path for something. When you are deciding to do something and someone says, you shouldn't, or you shouldn't do this, or you shouldn't do that, or this is how it works, and you still go forward, you learn a
Yep.
lot about
You
yourself.
learn a lot about yourself. It reminds me of Dave Chappelle. I'm not sure if you saw it. It was actually his Christmas special from maybe a year or two ago. And I'll try to keep this as PG as possible. But you know, where do you rank it? So, like, do we get to the R ratings on your podcast? You know, because I'll drop an F-bomb in the R rating. But listen, so he
I've never
Dave
thought
Chappelle
about that actually, but you know, people have said what they got to say. So
listen, you're dealing with creatives, man. You never know. So, but Dave Chappelle was talking about JK. Is it the comedian, the guy who got in trouble for essentially he was masturbating in front of females? CK Lewis.
yeah, I remember him. Yeah.
So he got in trouble during that whole Me Too movement. But he said, Dave Chappelle said something so powerful in that joke. And what makes Dave Chappelle so genius and funny is that every joke he tells is a hard truth about life.
Yeah.
And you may have to sometimes uncover that truth. Sometimes it's laid bare. In this case, he laid it bare. And this was a story. And this is about really gets to the heart of what trips up a lot of people on their journey to success. So CK Lewis was found guilty of and admitted to masturbating in front of women. He was never found to have been like rapey, like Weinstein or anything crazy, but of course he was overstepping boundaries. But there was one particular story that Dave Chappelle told about a lady who, she was a fellow comedian, and I think that she had actually interacted with Dave Chappelle in addition to she met CK Lewis. And during one of her encounters with him back in his hotel room, he went into his normal tirade of activity and he did masturbate in front of her. Well, the point of the story was that after the fact, she said that that was it. That was a line that was drawn and she quit. She was like, I'm not doing comedy anymore after this. This is not going done. And it was amazing to me because Dave Chappelle came back and was like, hold on. Now, don't get me wrong. That is a terrible situation. But you had a dream that you allow somebody masturbating in front of you to kill? You let somebody else doing that kill your dream? And he used the following term that has become a philosophy I live by now. He's like, you had a shaky dream.
That's right.
And I tell people all the time, I don't do shaky.
That's right.
One of the things that's changed in my life is there's no one in my life that's shaky.
I tell you, you've had to remove some people. I tell you, I hate to say it, but there's some members of my family even that when I'm doing stuff,
shaky
I
anymore.
don't tell them what's going on with that stuff. And then later on, they're like, oh yeah, I heard you had all these people come to a show or something you did. I was like, what's going on? I was like, dude, I can't have your energy affecting the energy of what we're trying to get going.
It's not even a matter of being angry. It's not a matter of wanting to retaliate. It's simply you are now excommunicated.
That's right. The energy, every energy that we're trying to do has to go in one direction.
One direction. You said something super powerful. A lot of my philosophies have come from you. One of my favorites was throw your heart over over the wall and your body will follow. And when you're talking about being driven by a dream, that's what we're talking about. This woman was not willing to throw her heart or her body over the wall because of one man masturbating in a room. And don't get me wrong, again, it's a terrible situation, but the journey to success will have things that make that look almost like a dream.
That's right.
Like there will be times when you're faced with situations that are truly deplorable on the journey to success. And I think that a lot of times people don't take that into account.
And I tell people
part of that journey.
Like this, regardless of I'm not gonna say regardless, but the world's got lots of issues, right? They got lots of stuff that's going on.
People have lots of issues. Let's be real. The world is fine. People.
In the history of mankind, if you want to get up and do something like you and I, whatever we're doing today, if we want to do something tomorrow, we can just say, you know what? I want to just go tomorrow and there's no one who's going to kill us or,
Right.
We might not get
the world, but there was a time when you couldn't even leave out your house to go.
That's right. We may not get money for the new thing that we're going to do.
Right.
But we can at least make that decision.
Make that decision. Yeah. Make that choice to give it a real shot. You raised a great point there. It's so true. And that is the beauty of today's world. The only limitations we have on this today are the ones we place on ourselves.
That's right. And it doesn't matter your age. I tell this all the time, especially to people that's in my age area, where you're starting to get a lot of these things where people are just like, well, I'm just waiting for this. I'm just waiting. They're just waiting for things to be over. And I was like, no, this is like the best time to do. You're at the juxtaposition of experience and expertise and wanting to do what you want to do. You're like at this great, phenomenal moment in life to do stuff. This is not the time to give up. This is the time to hit the gas. And so
I tell you, it's the world today is really, that old philosophy, survival of the fittest, is on display right now.
Oh, yes.
I talked to somebody yesterday, and this is somebody I have a nice amount of respect for. And it was a very quick text conversation, but the level of helplessness that I just picked up from the text alone was very disappointing in a way. Like, wow, like there are many people out here who are not looking at this as opportunity.
Yeah, they aren't.
There's a lot of people who look at this as, and that's because again, their life has been set up in such a way as to where they're just a passenger in the car.
And it's not just, it's opportunity combined with possibilities.
And possibilities, and that's the key, right? And the possibilities are what give human beings the capacity to continue to forge forward, because it's that infinite human hope, right? I've heard it said, the greatest human capacity, I think it's from the Matrix, the greatest human attribute is our infinite levels of hope.
Yeah.
But you have to almost see that there is opportunity, right? And that's why you have countries that you have terrorism, because they don't see hope, and so you can brainwash somebody into ending their life when they don't see their life as having a value. But we live in a world today, especially in America, where if you're just creative or just believe in yourself, then you can achieve with just about anything. And I'll tell you one last thing before I pass it back to you. I see it no more than on TikTok. That's my favorite place to go to see. I tell people all the time, TikTok is a collection of the world's greatest tryhards trying hard. It does not matter who they are. It could be people who are literally just the most mundane people, but they will get on that app and do things that just blow you away. And I see some of the most creative stuff coming from some of the most unlikely sources. Like I saw a guy yesterday had this video where he was sitting in front of a clothes dryer, but he took his tablet and put it inside the dryer and closed the door. And then he had the sound of an airplane and the captain talking in the background. And I swear to God, it looked like he was on an airplane. And then he slowly pulled the camera back and you see him sitting in front. And he even had a fold down fake tray and a glass of wine. But he was taking a staycation. And I'm like, that is just mind-bogglingly creative and funny. Like, who thinks of stuff like that? But I mean, think about your dryer looks like the windows of an airplane.
It is incredible. I tell you.
And then he put a tablet inside of it showing like the Grand Canyon. And then the voiceover said, yeah, so we're passing the Grand Canyon on the left. And I'm looking, I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. Then the camera zooms back, this guy sitting in front of him. I'm like,
what a world. This is amazing.
What a world. People are hilarious. And given an opportunity, everybody's creative.
That's exactly right. Our possibilities are such. And when we created this organization, and one of the things that hurt me personally was that there was just so many people who just thought that it was something for a select group of people to be creative.
Mhm.
It was like
Yeah.
these people over here are creative. They've got these titles, whether it's musician or rapper or writer,
Right.
whatever.
Actor, writer.
And
Right.
I was just like, that's so wrong. And then
Mhm.
we were losing people, and we had come to find out while we're collecting their belongings that they're poets and that they're painters and all these other things. I was like, that's so anti what God has created us to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's no.
There's a space for the arts. There is a very important space for the arts because music is a sound of emotion. First of all, it is critically powerful, and one of the things that I really feel sad is just more and more being taken out of the creative space is reading.
Yeah, reading is such a powerful thing. I always try to read
That's
it.
where you get imagination from,
That's
in
right.
my opinion. That's the birth of imagination is reading.
And it opens you to write. So imagination, so many more possibilities come from just
Yep.
reading. And it really doesn't matter what you read because
Does not.
your mind will work no matter what it is you're reading. You'd be reading
Yep.
fiction,
Yep.
nonfiction,
Yep.
academia, whatever it is, your mind is going to work. It,
Yep.
it's such a powerful thing. So
And we think about it today. That is literally, the illiteracy, when you compare illiteracy to what it used to be, is different today. But there are so many illiterate people today, it's ridiculous. That Floyd Mayweather illiteracy, like you can be a millionaire, even a billionaire, and functionally be illiterate.
is he officially illiterate? I've heard this.
I don't think he's officially illiterate because I'm sure he's like taking effort to read. But he before was illiterate. That man could not read.
Wow. And he's getting 100.
And I'm not knocking him. I'm not. He's fine. He from a young age he has honed himself. He is the quintessential example of somebody being specialized. I'm okay with that. But I'm saying that there are so many kids today that just cannot read, write, and spell effectively. We're not even going to go down to grammar and punctuation because that's like advanced. We're talking about just reading, writing, and spelling. That's been and social media is such a big part of that. And
because he's brilliant, there's no doubt
yes,
about it. And so
right.
when you think about his brilliance, and if he did have these other tools, how much more could he take that 100 million he gets per
And
fight
do more with it, right?
and do in his world and the world for others? Because he's got to fight a lot. He's going to be one of the people that's going to keep fighting until he can't fight no more.
With that and the fact that part of the reason why he's doing that is because financially his decisions have been horrible, ridiculous. So he's actually, quite frankly, on the red end of the spectrum, where if he had not made as much money as he has made, he'd be flat broke.
That's what I'm saying. So at some point, I don't know who he's going to fight, but he'll be fighting somebody because he'll
be fighting Conor McGregor. They already have Conor McGregor 2 set up.
Oh, really? Again?
Yeah, and then he'll fight Pacquiao again. They're gonna give him all the fights that everyone. Listen, Pacquiao could use the money. These guys, they're not good investors, right?
Oh, wow. Well, so it's been awesome to have you, my brother. It's been fantastic to have you. So somebody's listening to you now, right? So I'm not in the room.
Mm-hmm.
They say, Abdul, I was creative, or I am creative, but I'm going through some mess in my life. I'm going through some anxiety or depression or whatever it is, and I want to be creative again. And you're talking to that person. What's something that you're telling them? What's a couple of sentences you tell them to give them some guidance?
Yeah, first of all, I say you have everything you need right there with what you just described, because there's no greater fuel for creativity than adversity. It is because she had a mental breakdown that we have what I consider to be one of the greatest R&B albums of all time, The Emancipation of Mimi.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say is go listen to The Emancipation of Mimi, understand that album was delivered during a time when this woman was just coming out of a vicious mental breakdown. And that was the fuel that she used to create that project. And when you listen to it, you hear the pain, you hear the suffering, but also you hear the hope. And it was something that, for me personally, there are songs on that album that I personally listen to for upliftment. So your pain is everyone in life goes through pain. So your pain and your journey through that could be somebody else's outlet.
You're awesome. You definitely feel it through a lot of artists, right? So
yeah,
I feel it through Nina Simone's work.
Absolutely.
A lot of
Absolutely.
times you can really feel it. I felt it through like Nirvana's, penultimate album back in the 90s.
Absolutely. Kurt Cobain. That's why Kurt Cobain has and will always stand the test of time because it ended so tragically, but you watch that journey from teen spirit to the point that he fatally shot himself, and you see that he was wrestling with demons the whole way. I would give you another example more relevant to these kids today, Juice World.
Oh, yeah.
You know, what happened with Juice World was very tragic. You know, again, a guy who had infinite talent, but had this drug demon that he was fighting the whole time, and ultimately that won out.
Yeah.
And you saw a career that could have gone on for decades snuffed out in an instant.
That is all. Thank you for sharing that. And
Yep.
my question to you is that we would like to have you back again. So
Sure.
hopefully you'll be down to do that. I've also shared with you that we will be combining and collecting a lot of the great creators. It is amazing that we live in Atlanta. Us personally, is that we've had people on this podcast from Atlanta, New York, Los Angeles. We got people listening to us in Brazil, Australia, the UK,
That's fire.
that are really digging what we're talking about. And so we'll be putting this together in an audio book, and there'll be a section where we'll have yourself and music leaders and all of these kind of things, and you'll be in that chapter. And
That's
so
dope.
we can be part of that. So any final words, Abdul, for the people who are out there listening to the Creativity Cocktail?
No, first I just want to say thank you for this forum. As an artist, I can tell you that it's all about having forums, platforms to put myself out there. I tell you, anyone out there trying to be successful, eyeballs and eardrums. That's it. Eyeballs and eardrums. If no one's there to hear you, doesn't matter if you're the world's most beautiful singer, you're just going to be singing to an audience of one. So it's about being a creative marketing person. And there are trillions. The problem in today's world is there are too many tools. And I finally say that you can look me up Instagram, simply, just spelled like Simply Lemonade, simply _ alpha, ALPHA, simply _ alpha on Instagram, TikTok, alpha 23, alpha ALPHA, the number 2, 3 together, TV, space TV on YouTube. And I'm all over SoundCloud as well. So if you just search Alpha 23, I'm on all the platforms. I have a website, www.theonlyalpha.com. Have all my stuff linked and connected. And again, as advice to artists and people out there, if they're on your TikTok, they should be able to find you on Instagram. If they're on Instagram, they should be able to find you on YouTube. If they're on YouTube, they should be able to find you on your website. If your stuff is not on it, all interconnected, then you're doing yourself a disservice. It's all about the audience.
Yeah, I tell people that all the time. I'm linked to you on all of those with the exception of TikTok. So I'm gonna have to do that one and check that one.
Yeah, check me out. TikTok, I'll tell you, TikTok is my favorite platform. And that's the one of all of my social media platforms is getting the most buzz. It's got my most followers. And quite frankly, I enjoy creating on there the most.
Really?
I love TikTok. It's not even close. In fact, it is the first social media platform I can say I thoroughly enjoy using.
Wow.
And I'm not a social media kind of guy.
Yeah, I don't, because I know that I don't see you on some of them, but I see you on some others, so that's
TikTok is the fastest growing platform. And again, it's what Vine used to be, accelerated by 100. Like if Vine had really had an opportunity to really stretch its legs, TikTok has taken that whole energy and really expanded on it in a great way.
I remember Vine. I remember that one.
Yeah. Oh my God. You saw some of the most creative things on Vine. And that's what TikTok has captured in an amazing way, is the ability to, in 15 to 60 seconds, really express yourself in an awesome way. I had my first 1 million view video here the other day, so that was pretty cool. It was a funny video, a voiceover video.
On TikTok?
Mm-hmm. It's at 1.1 million views right now. It was a funny animal voiceover video. With TikTok, what you don't want to do is overly promote yourself. Now, there are people on TikTok who are artists and they promote all of that, but when you're early in the stages of your career, obviously people have to gravitate towards you. And so you have to be gentle in how and TikTok is not a platform that you're just going to splash your, mixtape on and think people are going to fall in love with you. You got to be creative and continue to use a creative process to grow your success, even as a musician.
Yeah, there's so many of those. What's the new one? Quibi, I think that's
Quibi. Yeah, Quibi. That seems to be more like bite-sized TV. I'll check it out, but I don't see myself paying a monthly service fee for that. I think Meg Whitman may be behind that, and if so, I'm definitely not messing with it.
Yeah, I think that they got to understand the viral nature of things. When you get the views, then you pay out and that kind of thing. I think they got to understand, and then making sponsored content. Otherwise, it's going to be challenging. So it's been great to have Abdul.
You as well. Thanks for allowing me to be here.
So we really appreciate it. He will be back again. For all of those of you who are out there, make sure you check us out on risingtidescharity.org. We're everywhere as Creativity Cocktail, so you can check us out on Twitter and IG and all those different places. This conversation itself will be on Apple, Spotify, Overcast, Podbeam, and we'll also be having the video conversation here for our members only group. And it's free to be a member. All you got to do is join us up on all the different ways you can do it, where you'll be able to see this video and some outtakes from the conversation I'm having with Abdul. And so you'll be able to do that all from our platforms. So again, Abdul, you are dope, my brother. I love you. Fantastic to have you.
Appreciate you, brother. Indeed. Take care, brother.